Hello there guys, welcome to another My Live video. So it has been fully announced, Harry Maguire officially signed for Manchester United. We have paid a world record fee of £80 million. Obviously now he is the most expensive defender in world football, and also the fee that we have paid has exceeded the fee of what Liverpool paid for Virgil van Dijk back in January 2018. So Manchester United have got him for £80 million. It has now been made official. Obviously Harry Maguire throughout the course of the weekend, did complete his Manchester United medical, and of course Harry Maguire has signed a 6-year contract with an option of a further year, and I do believe this deal is worth up to around £200,000 a week. But I'm very delighted with this signing. So Harry Maguire now is our third signing this summer, and we have spent £148 million. But yeah, I'm very delighted with the signing, and I do believe he's massively essential, is Harry Maguire, in the growth and the development of the Manchester United team, and I do believe he's going to succeed at Manchester United, and I do believe he will blend in alongside Victor Lindelof in our backline fantastically well, and I do believe Harry Maguire could be given his Manchester United debut this week against Chelsea on the opening day of the Premier League season. I do also believe that Harry Maguire is the second most expensive signing in Premier League history, just behind Paul Pogba, because obviously we paid £89 million for Paul Pogba. But obviously this did get confirmed on Friday. Basically Brendan Rodgers had confirmed that Manchester United and Leicester had come to an agreement on an £80 million fee, but obviously it's just been made official earlier on today. But like I said, it fueled speculation last week, and obviously, Harry Maguire was left out of Leicester's squad, for their final pre-season game against Atlanta. Obviously, reflecting back last Monday, Harry Maguire was absent from Leicester training. But Di Marzio broke out the news last week, and Di Marzio is a very reliable Italian journalist, especially when it comes to Italian transfers and that. Sometimes he's reliable, with other news. He has got things wrong in the past, but he said last week that Man United were in the closing stages of coming to an agreement for Harry Maguire, and this is what basically said. And I do believe since that point there was a lot more credibility in Harry Maguire coming to Manchester United. But I did know would get the deal over the line. Obviously for large portions of the summer, until obviously the fee and that had been agreed. Obviously Leicester City's valuation had seemed to be the stumbling block, because obviously Leicester said they wanted in the excess of £80 million. Obviously like I said, for the majority of the summer we was only willing to pay up to £70 million for his services, so we was reluctant basically to pay more than £70 million for Harry Maguire. But in the end, he decided to meet what Leicester have demanded. But Harry Maguire informed Brendan Rodgers the other week, he also informed his Leicester teammates that he did want to come to Manchester United, and obviously now he's going to relish that opportunity. But I do believe he's going to do absolutely fantastic, because obviously I think Harry Maguire is very beneficial, because he's well Premier League proven, he's experienced, he shows that ability to power from the back, he can play the ball out from the back. He's also very good in the air. He's not very fast, Harry Maguire, but I don't think that's a current issue. But he is 26 years of age. He's in his prime. He's still got a hell of a lot of development in him, and very delighted with the signing. So he signed a 6-year contract. It's going to take him under contract with the club until 2025. But like I said, I know we've bought central defenders in recent years. We've got the likes of Victor Lindelof a couple of years ago from Benfica. Victor Lindelof's flourishing in this Manchester United team. So obviously now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first choice centre backs are going to be obviously Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. But now we have got 7 central defenders in our squad. So maybe Manchester United may consider offloading one. Obviously, like I said, we bought Eric Bay. 3 years ago from Villarreal, or over 3 years ago now. But obviously, his Manchester United career has been mainly affected with the amount of injuries he has sustained. Obviously, I think he's a really good player, is Eric Bain. He's got great potential, but I think his career's been mainly affected with the injuries he's sustained. Obviously, with his fallout under managers, it's really taken its toll on Eric Bay. Obviously, he's out for this season. I think he's out for up to 5 months. But like I said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer anyway, identified Harry Maguire as his #1 defensive target, and obviously, he instructed Ed Woodward, to get the transfer completed. But I think Lindelof himself is excited about the prospects, of Harry Maguire, playing alongside him in our back line. But it was only last week, that Brendan Rodgers, he'd had his overarching view. What? Did I? And he gave his overarching view last week, did Brendan Rodgers, and he basically said that Man United were not closer to sign Harry Maguire. And he did say Harry Maguire was no closer to leaving Leicester for Manchester United. So this is what Brendan Rodgers had also said last week. But we do know, reflecting back, was it around 3 or 4 weeks ago? It was looking likely Manchester City were going to sign Harry Maguire. Obviously, actually Harry Maguire's actual preference was Manchester City ahead of Manchester United. Obviously, City were seeing him as a replacement for Vincent Kompany. Obviously, City were orchestrating on paying him around 280 grand a week, but obviously City had withdrawn their interest because obviously Manchester City were not willing to meet what Leicester were demanding, because I think City were only willing to pay around £65 million for his services. So City had withdrawn their interest, and I do believe since that point, obviously we were considered the favourites to sign the player. Don't forget, we did have 2 bids turned down for him. We had the £70 million bid turned down for Harry Maguire back in early July. But like I said, very, very good central defender, and I think he's going to address our defensive deficiencies fantastically well. But I still believe, more investment is needed in the squad. Now, I do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's priority, will be to get a couple of new additions in that midfield, regardless of what happens with Paul Pogba. Obviously, from the majority of the summer as well, we've been in search for a right winger, but I'm very sceptical about a right winger coming to Manchester United. But like I said, with Harry Maguire, he did have 2 good years with Leicester, and I do believe he'll definitely replicate what he did at Leicester at Manchester United. In his 2 years with Leicester, he made 76 appearances in all competitions. Obviously, 69 of those appearances had come in the Premier League. He only initially signed a 5-year deal with Leicester last September, so he did still have 4 years left on his deal. Obviously, Leicester have made a huge profit on the player. Obviously, because Leicester only paid £17 million to him, so obviously they got 80 million, so they have made a substantial profit. I think obviously now Leicester are in search for a replacement for Harry Maguire. But looking at it ultimately, Leicester will be disappointed that they lost him, because Leicester didn't want to sell him. There was under no financial pressure to sell Harry Maguire. This is why they priced him out of the transfer market. This is why, of course, they were demanding an extortionate amount for the player. And also, it's very, very good as well because Mike Phelan has got that reunion with Harry Maguire. Don't forget, obviously, Mike Phelan managed Harry Maguire during his short tenure with Hull. So he has now, of course, got that reunion. But he did serve a couple of good years with Hull. I think he also had a loan spell with Wigan as well, did Harry Maguire. But obviously, I think we was also tracking Harry Maguire, when he was actually at Sheffield United as a youngster, because that's where he initially began his career. Sheffield United did Harry Maguire, and I do believe Man United were tracking him then, and I do believe Sir Alex Ferguson, he's been a long admirer of the player as well. But like I said, he was Solskjaer's #1 defensive target. Was our actual priority last summer was to recommend a central defender to come in, but obviously we didn't get as #1 targets last summer, because reflected back last summer under the Jose Mourinho era, obviously the board weren't backing the signs that I wanted to bring into the football club, and obviously one of the players last summer Jose Mourinho wanted, of course, was Harry Maguire. But Pep Guardiola now, he's come out, about the Harry Maguire situation. He basically explained that Manchester City, couldn't afford, the £80 million that Leicester were currently demanding for him. But yeah, I'm very, very happy about the signing. Initially, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said, we wasn't intending on overspending on our transfer targets this summer. I do believe in my overarching view on it all. I think Harry Maguire is a very, very good player. He's going to definitely succeed at Manchester United. Maybe we have overpaid for him, and I do agree with people that says we have overpaid for him, because I did say 60 or 70 million pounds would have been reasonable in this market for Harry Maguire. But we've paid £80 million, so I do believe we've paid a bit too much for him, because you can't put Harry Maguire in Virgil van Dijk's calibre or level, because Virgil van Dijk is regarded as the best centre half in the world. But I still believe Harry Maguire is going to do fantastic at Manchester United. I think it's good business from the club. I also do believe it's very good business from Ed Woodward. But looking at it last season, we conceded 54 goals in 38 Premier League games. But I do believe this season, we're going to have a much better season. I'm still sceptical about Manchester United winning the league, but I think this season, we'll maybe finish in the top 4, maybe even the top 3. We may even finish second. But I do believe our expectations this season anyway will be to probably finish in the top 4, maybe win some silverware. But that's what I think our expectations will be this season. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got to exceed them expectation levels. But we'll see vast improvements from last season, because last season was a huge disappointment. We finished 6th. Obviously, obviously, we didn't win many silverware last season, and we failed to qualify for the Champions League. And I did say certain players, might have reservations about coming to the club because we're not in Champions League football. It's also going to be hard for us, to convince our imperative players and that to stay at the football club. But Solskjaer the other week, was talking about our ambitions for this season. He believes we'll be aiming for further up than fourth. But I'm still sceptical about Manchester United winning the league. But yeah, like I said, Harry Maguire is a very, very good signing. He's actually, I think he's the second most expensive signing in the Premier League. I think he's also our second most expensive signing behind Paul Pogba. But him and Lindelof are going to complement each other fantastically well. But I think now maybe we should orchestrate on selling one central defender, because like I said earlier on in the video, we've got 7 central defenders now. We've got Lindelof, we've got Harry Maguire, we've got Rojo. I do believe we need to get rid of Rojo. I think we need to sell players because there's problematic players at the football club anyway that need to go. You've got Rojo, he's injury prone at Manchester United. This is what's mainly affected his Manchester United career. Obviously with Eric Bailly, he's also injury prone. We've obviously got Smalling and Jones. They've been 2 long serving players at the football club. Smalling and Jones have been here. Smalling's been here I think 9 years. Jones has been here 8 years. But also Harry Maguire is a fantastic upgrade to them as well, which is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I'm glad Harry Maguire's transfer saga now has finally come to a conclusion, because we was in negotiations with Leicester for several weeks, of course, over getting a deal over the line, but it has now been officially announced. And we've got the likes of Alex Tuanzebe in our back line. So we've got around 6 or 7 central defenders. Some people said we should maybe loan Alex Tuanzebe out for another season because they may think it'll be brighter for his future. It may, obviously, gain him a bit more experience and all that. So some people have said maybe we should loan Alex Tuanzebe out. But I definitely think the club need to get rid of Rojo and Darmian, because they've both endured difficult times at the football club. Darmian, he hasn't really been given the chance. But maybe we should, sell players, maybe to try and generate, the majority of that money, what we've paid for Harry Maguire. But I think we could maybe get around maybe 30 or 35 million pounds, for the for Rojo and Darmian, but they definitely do need to leave the football club. But maybe we do need to offload one central defender. I don't think Smalling and Jones they're no longer good enough now for Manchester United. They have been 2 long-serving players here, and it was a bad mistake from us, giving them 2 new long-term contracts last season. But Harry Maguire is going to be absolutely fantastic, because I initially said, we didn't have a good defence to rebuild on, since we had the likes of Vidic and Ferdinand and Everett and Gary Neville, because they were good defenders, back in the day. But now we have got our central defender in. We're going to focus now on bringing a couple of new additions in that midfield, because I still believe, Daniel James, Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire is still not enough. Don't get me wrong, we have seen glimpses of what good signings, Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka have proven to be so far, because they did do fantastic in pre-season. With Daniel James, he's still a prospect, and he needs time to develop, and obviously with Wan-Bissaka, he's had a fantastic start to his Manchester United career, and I do believe he can be our fullback for the next decade, kind of Wan-Bissaka. But they're both still very, very young. But with Daniel James, I think he's done well throughout pre-season, but there's still improvements needed in his game. Don't get me wrong, we do look now much better in that attacking third end of the pitch, but I still believe we need to add a bit more experience in that attacking line. But I was reading something up today, and it basically said, since we last won the league, which was obviously in 2013 in Alex Ferguson's last season, which was obviously over 6 years ago now, we have spent £968 million on players, since Alex Ferguson's retirement, and this is obviously including under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era now of what we spent. So obviously under David Moyes, I think we'd spent around, was it £67 million? He got Mattering, he got Fellaini. I think under Van Gaal era, I think we'd spent over £200 million. He bought the likes of Herrera, who's obviously now left the club. Obviously Luke Shaw came in. You got quite a few players in there, did Louis Van Gaal. I can't remember all of them who they were, but, he did bring quite a few players in. You got Jose Mourinho, we spent just under £400 million under the Jose Mourinho era on 11 players, and obviously now, we spent £148 million under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, so a hell of a lot of money has been invested into the club. But we've got a history of spending big on players anyway, especially in recent years. We paid £89 million for Pogba, £75 million for Lukaku, £15 million add-ons, which did initially, rise it to £90 million. Obviously, under Van Gaal era as well, we, paid just under £60 million for Angel Di Maria. We got Fred for £50 million last summer. I thought we overpaid for Fred as well, if I'm going to be honest with you. And obviously, we paid £50 million for Anwan-Bissaka this summer. So there is quite a few players, that we've paid an extortionate amount for. But yeah, we are a big, massive football club. We've got massive revenues, and we can afford, to, pay, big money for certain players and that. And I didn't initially say it's going to be hard for us to attract to the players to the elite level, obviously, because we're not in a Champions League football. We've actually failed to qualify for the Champions League 3 times, I think, out of the past 6 seasons since Alex Ferguson's retirement. But I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer recently spoke about, he spoke with Ed Woodward, about the lack of business in this transfer market. And obviously, I did say the board have got to get all the players that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants, because I did say to the board, don't get all the players that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants. You can say the board have let him down, because the board didn't listen sure that there was going to be backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this summer. But Solskjaer gave his overall analysis on this window, and he hasn't become infuriated. He just basically said, we need to be patient. Obviously, it's always difficult. He said he gave his own opinion, saying it is difficult in this window and all that. But like I said, he thinks Manchester United will have a better season this season, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to build a team, of course, that can win trophies. He wants to build a squad worthy of the club's mystery, like he did currently confirm. But actually, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's actual preference was, I think, was it back in March? I think was it at the end of May? He said this. He wanted it was end of May. Sorry, he wanted our transfer business completed by the time we did initially go on pre-season. But obviously, that didn't materialise. But Solskjaer said at the end of last season, he's worked out his transfer strategy. He wants to bring young players to Manchester United, that can grow, develop, and emulate in superstars. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer believes he's following a policy that proved successful under Alex Ferguson. But I do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can get Manchester United back to success. Hopefully, we can win some silverware this season. But now, obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to have an indication now what team to go with against Chelsea this weekend, because obviously, he'd been analysing the games, throughout pre-season. To be quite fair, I think the majority of the players, did really, really well. More or less everybody got the chance throughout pre-season. The young players, the fringe players, the experienced players, and that. So more or less everybody got the chance. There was quite a few players that didn't play on pre-season, as you all know. But I thought the young players, did really, really well throughout pre-season. Mason Greenwood, he's been assured, more playing time this season, which is good. And he's only 17 years of age. You've got the likes of Chong. He's inexperienced. But I thought he did well throughout pre-season when he played. You've got the likes of McTominay and that. I think McTominay, this is why I said we need a couple of new additions in that midfield, because looking our midfield at the moment isn't good enough, and we need someone in that midfield that can score goals, that can create chances, who's got that work ethic and that tenacity in that. And obviously, we've got the likes of McTominay. To be fair to him, he did do well in pre-season, so he gained a bit more experience, and I do believe he'll get his chance this season in the Premier League. Will McTominay, and he did well towards the back end of last season, but I still don't know if he's got all the attributes to succeed at Manchester United. Scott McTominay, but he has still got a lot of development in him. You got likes of Pereira. I think he did quite well in pre-season, but again, with Pereira, I'm still very sceptical about him. I've got the same thoughts about Fred. I'm very sceptical about Fred, but I do believe the likes of McTominay, Pereira, and Fred, they're much better solutions than Nemanja Matic, because I think they're more mobile on the ball, they're better on the ball than Matic, if I'm going to be quite fair, because Matic is really, really inconsistent. I think he was mainly the only disappointing player on pre-season was Matic, because he's too slow, he's too ineffective in that midfield, and I know we've seen glimpses of how good, he can be, Matic, he showed it at Chelsea, he showed it quite a few times at Manchester United, but he isn't getting any younger now, is Matic. He's currently aging up, so we do need to see improvements in that midfield, regardless of what happens with Paul Pogba. The initial plan is to bring a couple of midfielders in that can replace Herrera and Mario Fellaini, because obviously we know Herrera and Mario Fellaini have both left the football club. Actually, 3 players have left the football club since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. But we've got we want to get some couple of new additions in that midfield, but we've got to hurry up now about the business, because these only, I think the transfer window does shut this Thursday in that, so definitely Manchester United need more investment. Even now we have confirmed the signing of Harry Maguire. Yeah, but I think like I said, I think the majority of the team did well throughout pre-season. Like I said, Daniel James was good, and Wan-Bissaka was absolutely fantastic. I thought Victor Lindelof and that did really, really well. So yeah, they did really, really well throughout pre-season. You know, we had good results in Australia. You know, beat Perth Glory 2-0. You know, beat Leeds United 4-0, and obviously, you know, had a good result in Singapore against Inter Milan, winning 1-0. Then had a good result against Tottenham in Shanghai. You know, winning 2-1, and also then we travelled to Norway, obviously, you know, beat Kristiansund 1-0, and then obviously, you know, the final pre-season game was obviously, you know, AC Milan in Cardiff. You know, the game ended 2-2 in normal time, but we did win 5-4 on penalties. So you can say 6 wins out of 6 in pre-season. You know, 12 goals scored, only 3 goals conceded. So you can see the vast improvements in the squad, but you know, you can still see where the deficiencies are in the squad. But I think we do look much better in that attacking third of the pitch, because we have got that pace now in that attacking line, and that's something last season. This is why I wasn't scoring enough goals last season. I do believe last season we only scored 53 goals. Like I said, we conceded 54 goals last season, but we only scored 53 goals last season. But we look better in that attacking third of the pitch. You know, you've got Daniel James with electrifying pace, you've got Rashford with good pace, you've got Martial and that with good pace. And I think, you know, with Rashford and Martial, you know, well, I think with Martial I'll start with, you know, I think, you know, the club will orchestrate on playing Martial more centrally in the Premier League this season, even though he supposedly, you know, primarily plays off the left, Martial. But I think, you know, he seems to be more effective centrally. So he did fulfill that number 9 role really, really well, did Martial. So I think we're playing more centrally this season, Martial, because, you know, throughout pre-season he was playing centrally. He looks very, very effective in that position, does Martial. I know the likes of Rashford, you know, Rashford can play out wide as well as Martial, and I can also, you know, play centrally. So I think Rashford, you know, does look good when he's cutting in from that flank. But you know, we all say basically, you know, Rashford also looks more effective centrally, you know, rather than Martial. But I know there was both inconsistent in the last couple of months of last season with Rashford and Martial, but they did fantastic throughout pre-season. But yeah, I still believe, you know, these room for improvement in the Manchester United squad. But I'm very, very happy about the signing of Harry Maguire. So hopefully now our next signing can be either Bruno Fernandes or Mario Mandzukic from Juventus. So we will give you news now in regards to Bruno Fernandes, because a bit more additional information is updated about him. So we do know for the entirety of the summer, you know, that Bruno Fernandes has been linked to move to Manchester United. Now, obviously, it's fueled more speculation about Bruno Fernandes leaving Sporting Lisbon after he broke down in tears following, you know, Sporting Lisbon's 5-0 defeat to Benfica yesterday in the Portuguese Super Cup, and that's actually, you know, the second time now in space of week that Bruno Fernandes has come off crying. Obviously, you know, he's going to be leaving Sporting Lisbon, but reports emerged out on Friday of last week, you know, basically saying that Bruno Fernandes on Friday, Bruno Fernandes you know, left Sporting Lisbon's training ground after a meeting, you know, to finalise his transfer exit. So him and his agent reportedly, you know, discussed with the president of Sporting Lisbon, Federico Fernandes. They also met with the Sporting Lisbon director to obviously, you know, finalise his transfer exit away. His move to Manchester United is still a possibility, even though reports were coming out yesterday saying that we had distanced ourselves away from the Bruno Fernandes transfer. Now, we do know reports last week and also over the weekend, it basically says, you know, now that Tottenham have entered the equation again, and reportedly, you know, Tottenham have been in talks with Sporting Lisbon to sign Bruno Fernandes, because it did confirm last week that Tottenham officials had flown out to Portugal to go and meet up with Sporting Lisbon's president Federico Fernandes to get a possible deal thrashed out for Bruno Fernandes. And that, obviously, you know, Tottenham are looking to do more investment. Obviously, you know, Tottenham have got 2 players on the board so far this summer. You know, they smashed their transfer record for Tanguy Ndombele, who they paid around £65 million for, and they also did get Jack Clark from Leeds, but he's being loaned back to Leeds for this season. I do probably believe that, you know, Giovanni Lo Celso is more probable of going to Tottenham than Bruno Fernandes, to be quite honest, even though reports did say last week that Bruno Fernandes actually informed Sporting Lisbon his actual preference is Tottenham. So with the Giovanni Lo Celso situation, it still hasn't, you know, it hasn't made Tottenham withdraw their interest in Bruno Fernandes, because he did say Tottenham were intending on hijacking our transfer for Bruno Fernandes. But I've been reading reports today about Giovanni Lo Celso, and I think it came out from the Daily Record. It also came out from the Sun, and it reportedly says that Tottenham have agreed a £55 million fee with Real Betis over the transfer of Giovanni Lo Celso, and it reportedly says Tottenham will pay the majority of it up front. You know, they'll pay around £47.6 million up front, according to the Sun, I think it was, with £7.4 million in bonuses. But it actually said, you know, Real Betis are open to selling the player, but that seems to be too insufficient, just £55 million, because I was reading recent reports quite recently, and it said, Real Betis want around £70 million. Giovanni Lo Celso's release causes around £88 million. But Tottenham, he's been one of Tottenham's main priority targets as Giovanni Lo Celso. They're obviously seeing him as a replacement for Christian Eriksen. But obviously, Tottenham have been in for him for months. They've been in negotiation now with Real Betis for months. But I do think initially, Giovanni Lo Celso, said, that he does want to leave Real Betis. But he has been one of Tottenham's main priority targets. So basically, they're seeing Bruno Fernandes as an alternative to him. But Tottenham do want to get a number 10 in, so they're obviously not in search for an attacking midfielder. But yeah, with Giovanni Lo Celso, I think Spurs have already had a £52 million bid turned down for him. By the way, I think he had a £52 million bid turned down for him a couple of months ago, if I'm right. I think he had a £52 million bid turned down for him a couple of months ago. But yeah, there's been a lot of talks about it going on. But Giovanni Lo Celso is only 23 years of age. It actually was his first season last season with Real Betis. Well, the majority of last season, he spent on loan with Real Betis, because Real Betis, did get him from PSG last summer. They got him on loan, and then obviously, Real Betis had the option to buy. They did make the deal permanent, I do believe, back in April by paying around a further £20 million. So PSG do benefit from it anywhere if Real Betis do sell him, because I think PSG do get 20% of 20%. They do get a percentage of around 20%. Do PSG and that, but he's only 23 years of age. But Tottenham have been in for him, of course, for the majority of the summer. But now it reportedly says that a fee has allegedly been agreed by between the two clubs. And I think Giovanni Lo Celso scored 16 goals last season for Real Betis. But I think he's keen on making the move to Tottenham. But they are still in there, like I said, for Bruno Fernandes. Recent reports come out and said, now that Real Madrid are in there for Bruno Fernandes. But obviously, a lot of reports were coming out last week. Well, his transfer to Manchester United, what reports were saying last week, was actually inevitable, his transfer, because it reported said, soon after Sporting Lisbon's game against Benfica last week, it said, we was set to sign Bruno Fernandes and all that. This is what it basically said. It said we had an agreement in principle, with Sporting Lisbon for Bruno Fernandes. It also came out from Di Marzio last week, just like Di Marzio came out with in regards to the Harry Maguire situation. He came out with the same thing about Bruno Fernandes, and he said Manchester United are close to signing Bruno Fernandes. And Bruno Fernandes has already informed his Sporting Lisbon teammates. He's already informed Sporting Lisbon teammates that he's expected to leave this summer. This is what Bruno Fernandes said. Obviously, the Sporting Lisbon boss, he's had his overarching view on the speculation about Bruno Fernandes. And, he has come to accept the fact that he does want to leave, but he did say the other week that he was still unsure if Bruno Fernandes will leave. He did give his analysis this summer, and he did say, clubs have been keen on signing the player, but it has been mainly Manchester United that have been in there for him. But for the entirety of the summer, Bruno Fernandes' move to Manchester United has not been dependent on what happens with Paul Pogba. So with the situation with Paul Pogba, that's not having any effect on Bruno Fernandes coming to Manchester United. I do believe Bruno Fernandes' transfer target is now coming close to a conclusion, but it still remains, uncertain, where he will be going. But it could still, come to Manchester United, even though recently, Tottenham entered the equation. Also, Real Madrid have entered the equation. But actually, a lot of reports were coming out last week, saying that, Sporting Lisbon had denied speculation, that we'd actually, reached an agreement for Bruno Fernandes, and it reportedly said we'd made an offer through, to Sporting Lisbon through Bruno Fernandes' agent. But I don't think we've actually made an official bid yet for him. I think it didn't just say, we was only willing to pay around £50 million. Obviously, Sporting Lisbon, the president of Sporting Lisbon, he revealed, what fee it's going to cost, to convince Sporting Lisbon to offload. And I do believe, Sporting Lisbon want around, 63 or 64 million. They initially did say, the value at around £70 million. But I did say, for large portions of the summer, Bruno Fernandes' transfer to Manchester United has obviously it's hit a stumbling block basically because of the valuation, because obviously we've not been willing to meet what Sporting Lisbon are demanding for the player. And it didn't just say a couple of weeks ago that the board had like some kind of we had some concerns of element about spending quite a bit of money on a player that has got a little experience of playing in the Champions League, that's not really got the experience of playing to the highest level. But he will dramatically improve Manchester United Bruno Fernandes, because he can score goals, he can create chances, his tenacity is good, his work ethic is good, he's also pretty good in the air, he's really good from set pieces. And I think I would be excited about the prospects of Bruno Fernandes playing alongside Paul Pogba in our midfield. And don't forget, he's only Bruno Fernandes 24 years of age, so he has still got a hell of a lot of development in him. Look what he did for Sporting Lisbon last season. I think he scored 31 or was it 32 goals in 58 games for Sporting Lisbon, so he was absolutely fantastic indeed, and he's still got 4 years left on his contract with Sporting Lisbon. And, he's been in Portugal a couple of years, but obviously, a player of Bruno Fernandes' calibre and level, obviously he's going to want to leave, because he's going to want to rejuvenate his career and take his footballing career to the next level. He's not going to want to spend several years, with Sporting Lisbon, or spend the entirety of his career with Sporting Lisbon. He's going to obviously, want to come to the Premier League, because it's one of the best leagues in the world, is the Premier League. And, like I said, he spent the majority of his career in Italy when he was younger, don't forget. He obviously, played for Sampdoria, and obviously, underneath and that. He had good spells there with them, when he was younger. But I still think, we're considered the favourites to sign him. We've been considered the favourites at least for the last couple of weeks, but I think he is predominantly an attacking midfielder. It was only, the other week, that I actually said, we'd reached a transfer agreement with Sporting Lisbon. It reported said a fee of around 62 or 63 million pounds had been agreed, between Manchester United and Sporting Lisbon for Bruno Fernandes. And it said, not the weekend just gone, the weekend before, it said, he was set to fly out to the UK for his Manchester United medical ahead of his proposed move to Old Trafford and that. But Bruno Fernandes, would just be absolutely fantastic in our midfield, and I do believe he'd show the same. He would produce the same element of performances if he comes to the Premier League. Of what he's done in his 2 years in Portugal with Sporting Lisbon, but. He definitely wants to leave Sporting Lisbon, as that did get confirmed on Friday morning. But there's quite a few teams in there. I think Bruno Fernandes' agent has also been to the UK quite a few times, because obviously he's looking for the best possible deal for his client. You were getting British journalists, coming out the other week, saying that Manchester United haven't been interested in Bruno Fernandes all summer. But obviously, that got proven to be a load of nonsense. He did, and as you say, Sky Sports, they came out the other week and they give their opinions on it, and they believed that we thought the majority of the speculation, about Bruno Fernandes was actually stemming from Portugal, his homeland, rather than Manchester. But he has been one of our main priority targets. But actually, recent reports have said now he's not on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's list of targets now, all of a sudden. So Bruno Fernandes to Manchester United is still on. It's not fully assured that he'll come to Manchester United, but I still say, we are considered as one of the favourites to sign the player. Obviously, a couple of months ago, it was looking likely he was going to be going to Manchester City. Looking back a couple of months ago, it was looking on the cards he was going to Man City, because actually, Sporting has been assured he was going to be going to Manchester City. City were going to get him a couple of months ago, and I think they was willing to offload a couple of their players as part of the deal. But obviously, it didn't. His move to City never happened, because City, of course, had moved away from the deal. They've withdrawn their interest in the player. But Sporting Lisbon haven't been reliable this summer, and they've also been playing hardball for the majority of the summer, because deep down, Sporting Lisbon know how much of an essential player he is to them. And obviously, Sporting Lisbon did say themselves it's going to be hard for them, to find an adequate replacement for him. So that's the latest news about Bruno Fernandes. Now, obviously, we know that with there's still rumours going on about Sean Longstaff from Newcastle. Now, we've been in for him this summer as well. I do believe he has been flattered of our interest as Sean Longstaff. But Steve Bruce, who obviously not too long ago got appointed as Newcastle's new manager, following the dismissal of Rafa Benitez, it was back, I think, at the end of June. Rafa Benitez's departure from Newcastle. Obviously, Steve Bruce is obviously now coming in. He's obviously he's had his say on the speculation regarding Sean Longstaff, and actually Steve Bruce did dismiss speculation of Sean Longstaff coming to Manchester United. So basically, Steve Bruce said that Sean Longstaff's future lies with Newcastle. Now, obviously, it was quite a while ago now. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer instructed Manchester United, to go and sign Sean Longstaff, and I think Ed Woodward has also been working on, getting a deal over the line for Sean Longstaff. Obviously, he's worked now. He worked on the deal with Harry Maguire. Now we've got Harry Maguire in, and I do believe now he's working on getting a deal over the line for Sean Longstaff. But I do believe Newcastle's valuation, could be the stumbling block of him, making his proposed move to Manchester United, because I think we'd be very. I think I'm very sceptical, that Man United are willing to pay £50 million for him, because reports came out, was it quite a few weeks back now, saying that Newcastle have indicated how he's not for sale, and he did reportedly say they are not willing to let him go unless a bid is put in the excess of around £50 million and all that. So I don't think Manchester United would be willing to pay £50 million. I think we haven't made any official bid for him yet. It did initially say we was orchestrating on putting around the £30 million bid in for Sean Longstaff. We only initially value him at around £18 or £20 million. So basically, Newcastle are demanding more than double that. So, like I said, with Sean Longstaff, he's the upcoming future. Like I said, he has got a bit of experience under his belt, but he only made his senior debut for Newcastle in December of last year. Don't forget, he only made his senior debut last year. Obviously, he did well in the second half of last season. season. He thrived under Rafa Benitez's guidance. I think he's only got 9 games under his name as Sean Longstaff and all that. But I think he's got a 4-year contract with Newcastle. I think it wasn't too long ago he signed this. Actually, I think he's under contract with them until 2022 because he did sign a 4-year contract. Obviously, he didn't play the last couple of months of last season due to a knee injury he had to sustain, so he didn't play the last couple of months of last season. But I do believe now he has recovered from that injury. But only 21 years of age. I think he's central midfielder, so mainly a box-to-box midfielder. But yeah, Manchester United have been there for him. I think we've held negotiation with Newcastle. We've held high-level talks there with Newcastle, but it did confirm we haven't made an official bid for the player. Obviously, Newcastle lost Perez as well, so maybe this is another reason why they are reluctant to offload Sean Longstaff, but I still believe Manchester United are in there for him. He could still possibly come in, but I'm sceptical about him happening. Unless Newcastle lower their asking price, then we may go in for him then. But reports were saying a while back that Newcastle wanted around £50 million for the player. And, we'd obviously see Sean Longstaff as a replacement, obviously, for Ander Herrera. I want to give you the news now. That's the next news about Sean Longstaff, by the way. I want to give you the news now as I've been updating you regular in regards to Paulo Dybala. Now, obviously, it's dead in the swap deal between Paulo Dybala and Romelu Lukaku. Now he's dead in the water. Obviously, now as reports emerged out yesterday from the BBC, it was coming from Simon Stone in the BBC, and Simon Stone is quite reliable. Also, the BBC is a very reliable source, and it was coming out of a few other media outlets saying that we've ended our interest in Paulo Dybala, and a couple of main factor reasons why we've ended our interest in Dybala due to Dybala's extortionate wage demands and also the agent fees, and also with his reservations about coming to Manchester United. So he did say he had reservations about coming to the club because obviously we're not in a Champions League football and all that. With Dybala and that, I did say we've only been tentatively linked with him. No real links have emerged. The links only emerged in past 7 days and that, and I do believe there was some credibility in it. But for large portions of the summer, Dybala hasn't been one of our main priority targets. But obviously, they come out from Sky in Italy, last week that they said Man United and Juventus have agreed a swap deal in principle. Have agreed a swap deal in principle, involving Romelu Lukaku and Dybala, and obviously, the swap deal for that swap deal to have gone through, it was obviously not all dependent on, Dybala agreeing to move to Manchester United. But obviously, as recent reports have confirmed, we've ended our interest, and Dybala has rejected a transfer to Manchester United. Now, obviously, it's confirmed now he's back in training with Juventus with Maurizio Sarri, so maybe he will hold more talks with Maurizio Sarri. So he's now currently back in training. Last week, obviously, Paulo Dybala had been withdrawn from Juventus training until his actual, transfer saga was resolved. Also, he was recently, training alone with Juventus because Juventus forced him to train alone. So obviously, that had fueled more speculation. And I think, actually, with Juventus forcing him to train on his own, he becomes sad. He become infuriated with Juventus because obviously he didn't like the way that he had been treated and that. And he didn't just say that there had been a change of scenery, saying that Dybala wants out of Juventus. But I do believe his actual preference is to remain in Turin. Is Paulo Dybala's. That's his actual preference. But obviously there was a lot of talks going on last week. Saying obviously that Paulo Dybala's agent and obviously being in London. Obviously he held quite a few talks with Manchester United. To thrash out a deal for his client and that. This is what it basically said to thrash out a deal for his client. I do believe he also held secondary talks with Man United. Did his agent obviously of the personal terms. And as you said earlier on one of my videos last week, I did say Paulo Dybala's extortionate wage demands could be the stumbling block of him making his proposed move to Manchester United. I also believe the sporting director of Juventus was also I think he was also in London. I think he was also in Manchester, and he was discussing, Paulo Dybala's potential move to Manchester United. But he didn't actually say that Dybala was demanding £350,000 a week, to come to Manchester United. So he was demanding a significant pay rise. Obviously, Man United, didn't want to give him this £350,000 a week that he was currently demanding because we have got players on big contracts now. Obviously, Harry Maguire's just coming and he's new deal. He's worth up to around £200,000 a week. Obviously, with us. With us obviously, willing to offer Lukaku wasn't that as part of the deal of Dybala coming to United. It would have helped us with our wage bill. It would have freed up funds, for us to give him that significant pay rise, and we probably would be able to afford to give him £350,000 a week. But that's too much. And I think Dybala was also demanding around 10 million a year after tax and that. But Man United have obviously not willing to meet his current wage demand. So I do believe now it's dead in the water. That swap deal between Paulo Dybala and Romelu Lukaku. It is a shame, to be quite honest, because I think it would have been a very very good swap deal if it had gone through. You know, Dybala's surplus to requirements at Juventus. You've also got, you know, Lukaku, that surplus to requirements at Manchester United. And, you know, comparing Dybala and Lukaku, you know, I think Dybala is a much better player than Romelu Lukaku. You know, don't get me wrong, but, you know, Dybala's goal scoring pedigree in Italy is good. You know, Lukaku's goal scoring pedigree in the Premier League is very, very good, you know, to be fair. But yeah, this swap deal is now obviously not going to happen. But Dybala, obviously, you know, in the majority of his 4 years there with Juventus, you know, he has done fantastically well. You know, in the entirety of his career so far, he scored 118 goals. In his 4 years with Juventus, he scored 78 goals in 182 appearances in all competitions. Obviously, I think he's still got 3 years left on his contract with Juventus, and I think he's on around 120 grand a week at Juventus, which equates to around £6.5 million a year. But he's won 4 Serie A's and 3 Coppa Italians during his time with Juventus so far. But he has initially lost his place in the team, because obviously, you know, he lost his place in the team last season to Cristiano Ronaldo, and Cristiano Ronaldo has had his overarching view on this, and he basically instructed Paul Dybala, you know, to make the move to Manchester United. But obviously, you know, anywhere, we've now ended our interest in the player, and now maybe this has had an effect on, you know, with Dybala rejecting a transfer to Manchester United. This has had an effect on, you know, us getting Mandzukic, because obviously now we could now cool our interest in Mandzukic, you know, due to, you know, Dybala rejecting, you know, the transfer to Manchester United. But you know, there was good reports coming out about Mandzukic yesterday, and it reportedly said that he'd actually, you know, agreed the personal terms with Manchester United on a 3-year deal. I think worth up to around 6.2 million a year, which equates to around 120 grand a week. And he also said his wages will increase by around 35% on what is currently on at Juventus at the moment. This is what it said, and even reports have circulated out with some of the media outlets today saying that even a fee has been agreed, you know, between Manchester United and Juventus. Said reportedly a fee of around £15 million has been agreed. You know, I don't think, you know, Mandzukic coming to Manchester United, you know, will involve, you know, Lukaku going to Juventus, because obviously, you know, that was going to happen with you know, obviously, you know, with Dybala and Lukaku. It didn't just say, you know, obviously we wouldn't have to pay any fee for Mandzukic if Juventus, you know, were to include Mandzukic in a swap for Romelu Lukaku. I was reading recent reports, and it actually said, you know, we wanted Mandzukic and Paulo Dybala in exchange, of course, of Romelu Lukaku going to Juventus. But obviously, if that did happen, you know, there wouldn't be any potential fee involved. I should imagine. But you know, with Mario Mandzukic, you know, he's had a fantastic career. You know, he's been at Juventus 4 years. Obviously, I think he's scored 44 goals, provided 24 assists in 162 appearances in all competitions for Juventus. I think in the entirety of his career so far, he scored I think 188 goals in 476 appearances. But I've got some reservation. My reservation about him is that his age, because he's 33 years of age. He probably would only anywhere get a couple of years out of Mario Mandzukic. But yeah, reportedly said, you know, Maurizio Sarri, you know, has obviously, you know, agreed he's no longer part of his plans, and I think it didn't actually say that Mario Mandzukic has agreed to move away from Juventus. But obviously, you know, Juventus are unlikely to get rid of him unless they can currently find a replacement. So obviously, I still believe Juventus are in there for Romelu Lukaku, because don't forget, he did say that Lukaku, don't forget, had agreed the personal terms with Juventus. He said he agreed around, if I'm right, around, I think he agreed personal terms on, I think around 9 million euros he has agreed, and that equates to around £8 million sterling a year. And I think he did say he's set to earn around 160 grand a week with Juventus. So maybe now Lukaku isn't going to Juventus, so maybe now Inter Milan may come back now into the equation. And I was reading the Daily Mail earlier on, it did reportedly say that Inter Milan are willing to put a new £73 million bid in for him. Obviously, Antonio Conte did confirm that, you know, Inter Milan are still keen on signing Romelu Lukaku, but for the majority of the summer, you know, our actual, you know, valuation has been a stumbling block of him making his move to Inter Milan, because obviously Inter Milan have been struggling to meet our valuation. Obviously, you know, we said we want around 75 or 80 million pounds, so we're basically, you know, looking to recoup the money that we did pay for him from Everton a couple of years ago. Obviously, you know, we paid 75 million pounds for him a couple of years ago from Everton. Obviously, you know, there was add-ons included in the deal, which did potentially rise it to 90 million, and he has still got 3 years left on his contract with Manchester United as Lukaku. But obviously, he has confirmed anywhere that he wants to leave the football club, because obviously since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got recommended in, you know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first choice preference has been Rashford ahead of Romelu Lukaku, and now especially that we've got likes of Daniel James in that attack line, you've got Martial, you've got Mason Greenwood and Chon that are the upcoming futures. Lukaku's going to find it very, very hard to get there in the mix. But yeah, Antonio Conte, wanted Romelu Lukaku a couple of years ago. This is when he was Chelsea manager, but obviously, he would turn down Chelsea and came to Manchester United. But Lukaku said a while back he did describe Antonio Conte as one of the best managers in the world, and he did initially say, he was keen on playing under Antonio Conte's guidance and that, because I think he believes he'll flourish under Antonio Conte's guidance. But a couple of months ago now, it said he actually agreed the personal terms with Inter Milan and that. He said he agreed a contract with around 180 grand a week, but obviously, no fee has come to an agreement. So it says we want around 75 or 80 million. Some reports have said he want around nearly 98 million pounds for the player. But Inter Milan anyway, they're under financial fair play restrictions, I do believe. Obviously, Inter Milan have been, trying to offload a couple of players, to help them generate funds. But now with this swap deal not going through, Inter Milan now may revive their interest in Romelu Lukaku. Don't forget, Inter Milan have been in negotiation with Manchester United for the majority of the summer. Obviously, Inter Milan have already had two bids turned down. They had a £54 million bid turned down a couple of weeks ago. They also had a 70. They also had I think was it a 2-year loan offer turned down, because obviously they made a 2-year loan offer worth up to around £9 million. Worth up to around £9 million, and then with the obligation to buy at the end of the loan for a further £54 million. But obviously, Manchester United turned this down because we're only willing to let him go on a permanent deal. But Antonio Conte did identify Lukaku as his number one target, of course. Lukaku has been at the club 2 years. Like I said, he was exceptional in his first season. Didn't really replicate that in his second season. His goal scoring pedigree in the Premier League is good. He's well Premier League proven. He scored 42 goals in 96 games for the club in all competitions since he arrived from Everton a couple of years ago. And I think he's on a substantial amount as well as Lukaku. He's on over 200 grand a week at Manchester United. But like I said, I think he definitely needs to leave the football club, because he is one of the problematic players. But throughout the course of the summer, anyway, there's been a lot of speculation about players coming in. There's been a lot of speculation about players coming in, and of course, players going out. And that, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did say was not intending on overspending our transfer tax. And when the summer basically started, quite a lot of people said we should be sensible over our recruitment this summer. But like I said, a hell of a lot of money has been invested into this football club. I think it's £968 million now in total, with us confirming the signing of Harry Maguire. I do believe since 2008, when we did win the Champions League game against Chelsea, we have spent over £1 billion, that's for sure. But a hell of a lot of money has been invested into the football club. But like I said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the right man for Manchester United. He did prove himself when he was interim manager in his first 3 months. And, we did win a couple of Norwegian titles with Molde and that. So he has got a bit of experience as a manager. He's got a pretty decent pedigree, but not really to the highest level. And I do believe, Solskjaer can succeed at Manchester United. Obviously, we had a great team under the Alex Ferguson generation. And obviously now, this team, this generation, wants to replicate what the team did under Alex Ferguson. But I do know what squad, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to rebuild anywhere. But like I said, very, very good news about Harry Maguire. We have confirmed the signing of him, which is absolutely fantastic indeed. Like I said, it's £80 million. He's now the most expensive defender in the world. And so very, very good news. So hopefully I can give you some more news this week saying that we've signed someone else. So hopefully it's going to be Bruno Fernandes, or it's going to be Mario Mandzukic. Good reports have been coming out about Mario Mandzukic, but quite recently it said now we're cooling our interest because of Dybala rejecting a transfer to Manchester United. But if it was Mandzukic to be our fourth signing, he's obviously only going to cost us 15 million. It's going to take our spending up to around 163 million pounds. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider a subscribe, as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.